Maurice Ducoing. I graduated from Cornell University, the Psi chapter, in 2003. And I actually studied industrial and labor relations there, although initially I was in the hotel school. So there's a lot of attraction to Cornell for the hotel school. It didn't sustain my attraction, let's put it that way. And I needed to find something that was right for me. And it's interesting because that's also part of the time where I was thinking I need to change a lot of things, and which is how I ended up in Zeta Psi. Since graduating, I first went into teaching. I did that for a little while, realized that that wasn't specifically what I wanted, and now moved into human capital consulting at Deloitte. And I've been there for about 7 years now. Pledging Zeta Psi was the farthest thing from my mind when I was applying to colleges. I almost went to universities specifically because they didn't have Greek systems. So I was always going to be one of those never joiners. And actually my freshman year was a lot like that. I didn't want to go to any parties, didn't want to spend any time with people that were in the Greek system. I think a lot because I was intimidated by the idea. However, Cornell is a very big place, and it can be very lonely at different times. And so you want to make sure that you at least have a good friend network. And several of my friends were from high school, had joined Zeta Psi. And so I spent a little bit of time, and I spent some time with them, eventually started going to events at the house, and started realizing these are the type of people I want to spend time with anyway. And then it sort of opened up an entire experience for me. It was sort of this mysterious, intimidating thing, but at the same time, it was also where a lot of my friends were. It was also a place where I felt I could learn a lot of new things and have a lot of fun and get rid of some of that kind of the more loneliness part, because there were people I actually wanted to spend time with and enjoy spending my time with. So that was initially why I started pledging, and sort of opened up an entirely new world for me, and I've been learning about it ever since. For me, diversity has always sort of been a forefront. You know, I grew up in a completely all-white neighborhood on Long Island, where everyone made it clear that we were accepted, but there's also something slightly different about you. You speak Spanish, and this kind of thing or the other. And so it wasn't a surprise to me that when I came to Cornell, that was also on the forefront, and there were conversations there. Of course, significantly more enlightened conversations, and there was a lot more fun around them. When I joined Zeta Psi, what was interesting to me about it was every single person, whether it was Jewish, whether it was you were tall, whether you were balding prematurely, whatever it was, there was always something unique about everyone. And despite the fact that we were coming together as this brotherhood where everyone was together, we always poked fun at each other for the things that were on our mind that made us slightly different. But there was always that level of acceptance around it. So obviously for me, it was jokes around being Latino or whatever else, which, one, you get a good thick skin, but it's also a lot of fun because you're able to really feel accepted even though you're being poked fun at. My junior and then into senior year, I decided it was the right time for me to come out. This was obviously going to be a new something to be poked fun about. But the difference was, in this case, and particularly at the time in the climate of the university, it was something that was very scary. This wasn't something I'd always had to deal with. And so I wasn't really sure what to expect. And so I became very defensive about it prematurely. I hadn't even told anyone yet, but I anticipated that I was going to get a lot of pushback and a lot of negative attention. However, when I first came out, literally within the first day, I just started getting those same jabs and those same poking fun. And I think it was on their end also to make sure, has anything changed here? And so immediately when that happened, I shot right back. And everyone laughed, and we just moved on. It was one of those things where they needed to make sure that I was okay with it, and I needed to make sure that they were okay with it. And just being able to poke fun at one another and really was what created that acceptance. So there really wasn't a transition period for me. It was exactly what I expected. It was hilarious because there now is a whole new amount of jokes that could be made about me. So I suppose hilarious more for them. But on my end, it really changed everything, and it really changed my experience because it said I now had a new thing that made me different, but it didn't matter to anyone. And they really accepted me no matter what. My experience as an elder is interesting because I think there's two experiences. It's the tale of two Maurices in this case. First, there's my experience as an elder in the Psi chapter at Cornell. my experience there was, there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done as an elder to get this elder association on track, to mentor my Psi actives, things like that. And it was a 6-year journey to really work with all of the elders and the actives to get the chapter where it needed to be. But what was, I think, more important is my second Maurice, which was Maurice as part of Zeta Psi International. So as an undergraduate, I did not spend a lot of time and missed a lot of opportunities to spend time with actives from other chapters and elders from other chapters. I was a Psi Zate. I was in Zeta Psi, but only within the context of Cornell University. There was occasional times, and were always exciting when people would come and visit us, and there was 1 or 2 rogue pledge trips that took place. But in reality, I wasn't part of the overall fraternity. So as a new elder, I also felt it was important to attend the first convention that I'd ever gone to. And while the convention itself and its structure are not really relevant, I had an amazing time and met so many people in Zeta Psi that to this day are still some of my best friends. It changed everything instantaneously. I tell all of my actives all the time, you will have a different life once you realize all the vast resources and network that you have. And I've had some of my best experiences, some of my most memorable experiences, most of my most embarrassing experiences with my overall Zate brothers, not just my Psi chapter brothers. So I went from being a partial Zate, I think, in some ways, to a full Zate, and I continue to be involved in everything I can because there's just not enough time to continue to miss any opportunities in broader Zeta Psi. As a former teacher and someone who's very interested in education, I first got involved very early on with our LTI programs. And I was allowed to teach certain classes. I couldn't be happier to be able to do that. Then I started writing them. Then I started supporting the LTIs more broadly as part of the faculty. And eventually in 2007, I was asked officially to become the chairperson of the Membership Education Committee. And membership education as part of membership development is really important to me, but it's also a lifeblood of, I think, where the Zeta Psi broadly is moving. That allows us to administer not only the LTI programs, our institutes, but also make sure that we're giving the most to our undergraduates, our actives, as well as to our elders in terms of developing the skills that will make them successful in the fraternity when they're actives, as well as when they're out in the real world.